Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me for Digital Collections Bootcamp. This is Sarah from the Mount Airy branch of the Carroll County Public Library. Today we're going to be talking about how to find your next great read. Before you get started, it's always nice to brainstorm a few ideas. There's a lot of information to look at, so this will really help. The first brainstorming question to think about is to think about 3 books you've recently enjoyed. Secondly, do you have a favorite author or series? And for the third question, think about what subjects you're interested in reading about. You will find the collections we will be exploring today by hovering over Collections on the main website and then under Digital Collections, clicking the link for online research databases. You'll see that these are broken into categories. Luckily, we get to use the first one this afternoon. So we're going to be looking at both books and authors and novelists, which are located under the Books and Readers Advisory category. To get started with books and authors, we'll click the link, which is the first link here, under the Books and Readers Advisory category of the online research databases. So go ahead and click Books and Authors. It'll take just a second and it'll open to the main page. Now, Books and Authors is a great way to find ideas for both, as you'll see, fiction and nonfiction titles. And it's a curated database with suggested titles from genre and subject experts. So it's not an exhaustive list of everything in print or everything available, but it is specifically a database that is meant to advise you and provide suggestions for reading, what we librarians call readers advisory. So you're getting a kind of a technical library term there. So this database is exactly for that purpose, is just getting ideas for books to read. So let's take a quick look around and see how you can discover some new books. So as you see, there's always a crawl on the main screen with different areas. So here we have new and updated books. This month is Asian American and Pan American Heritage Month. So there's some seasonal picks here. And then craft books for stay-at-home activities. How apropos right now. So there's some ideas here. Say I'm interested in this Lego playbook. I was just really into watching Lego Masters. I'll click on that, and then here's a little bit of what the book detail looks like for a book. So you'll get a little rundown, a summary of what the book is about. There's these different subject headings here, which is really nice to use. So if you're like, you know what, I am interested in this, but I'd also like to read some other books about toys, you can do that. And you can also see that there's a list that this was included on that's available. Omaha Picks Lego Nonfiction. So that's a nice way to link to other ideas here in the upper right hand corner. If you click formats, you'll be able to see what formats that book is available in. So that's good if you look at something and you want to see if there's an ebook available, especially right now, then you can always go to our ebooks and digital collections and see if we have it available. Also, if you decide you like this author, he's a really good author about Lego books, you can click the author's name as well and it'll bring you to a list of materials created by that author that are in this database. So let's go back home really quick. So one of the nice tools, we'll start here in the left side bar, is you can browse by genre. So one of the questions I had you think about to sort of brainstorm was, what kind of books do you like to read? What do you like to read about? Is there something that, you read recently that you really enjoyed? So if you're somebody who likes biographies, you can go right to that biographies genre and you can search from within here. So that's really nice. And you'll see there's always a left sidebar on these genres that allows you to even narrow everything down even more if you want to. So you can click on biographies or autobiographies. You'll get a lot of different information. If you clear checkboxes for certain types of materials, it'll clear that. So you'll see I only have children and young adult. selected. I don't have adult books selected. So if I'm looking for something to, for my teen to read that we'd like to read and then talk about together, here we go. Here's, March Being Jazz, Lori Hernandez biographies. So these are really interesting. This is a great way to get some ideas. And like before, if you find one you like, you can just click on it. Jacqueline Woodson is a great author. This is a National Book Award winner. And we can click on there. And another highlight of the details that this book includes are there some read-alikes down here at the bottom. So if you're like, oh, you know what, I did like Brown Girl Dreaming, here's some other books you might enjoy. Not only does it have the formats list, but as you'll see here, there's reviews. If you click reviews, you can see some text of professional reviews about this book. So for instance, if I want to read the book list review, I can click read review and it'll show me the review that this was listed in, and I'll just scroll down and here's the set of reviews where it talks about Brown Girl Dreaming. So that's kind of another cool way to find out, more about a book. It might give you some ideas for book discussion questions if you're in a book club, something like that. So that's really nice. And again, not only are the subjects over here, but because this is an award winner, it'll also show you the awards it has been either nominated for or won in this case. And if I click National Book Awards, it'll show the listing of National Book Awards from 1996 to 2019. And you'll be able to see in 2014, this book won the National Book Awards. And this is one of the helpful lists. I'll show you how to get to the lists. But we'll go back to books and authors. And then searching genres in fiction is very similar. We'll try historical fiction. We have a lot of people at our branch that enjoy historical fiction. And as you'll see, as I mentioned here on the left-hand side, you're going to see all different kinds of subcategories off of that main category. So let's say I like to read books about medieval history, medieval based historical fiction. I could click that and then it'll give me all kinds of suggestions. So Bernard Cornwell is a popular author in that subgenre. So that's a great way to sort of narrow it down. So again, that's why it helps to come to this thinking about, oh, what kind of things do I like to read? Because there's so much information here. This will help you get an idea. You can also browse genres from here on the right hand side, and then there's also an author search. Now there's two different ways to look up authors in books and authors. There's author search, which I'll show you, or here above you can search for a specific title, a specific author, a specific series, or a specific keyword. So they're a little different. So let me show you. If you use author search here in this header bar, this will, if you know the specific author you want, you can enter their name here. But if you're not sure, but you heard about this Irish author that you wanted to read about, you can actually scroll through and select multiple nationalities of an author that you might be looking to read about. So I'm going to look up that Irish author who writes the weird stuff. And then I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure where they, what time period they're around, but I'm going to click Irish and hit search. And then I will get a list of all kinds of Irish authors. In this case, that's who I picked. Their occupation, when they were born, if they've died, when they died. And I'm scrolling through this list. You see, it's a pretty, long list of all these authors that I can find. And I think to myself, oh, it might have been Samuel Beckett. Maybe that's who I was thinking of. I'm going to click Samuel Beckett here, and then I will get some information on the different books that are suggested for Samuel Beckett. Oh yeah, Waiting for Godot. I remember hearing about that one. So I can go ahead and click on that, and I'll learn more about that book. Now, and the other way to search authors that I was talking about is to do a drop down here and say author. And here, let's say I want to learn more about Colson Whitehead, who just won, actually, the Pulitzer for fiction. So I'll click Colson Whitehead, and you'll see he'll come right up here. And then if I click on that, it'll show his books. And then I can filter these books if I want to from time periods. I can pick different decades to look at that material. Click cancel. I don't know that I want to do that right now. I can pick subject. So there's all different kinds of ways to kind of search even with your when you're within an author, which is, which is pretty cool. It's very interesting. And then additionally, one of the things I had you think about in the beginning was if there's any series that that you like. So we'll go ahead and go back to the beginning. It's always kind of a nice place to reorient ourselves. So if I know a specific series and I'm either looking to find what's the next book in the series, so I've read one book and I can't remember what's next, or I want to find read-alikes or other books like that series, I can click series, and I know a book series that I enjoy is the Dark Tower series. So as I start typing, it'll give me suggestions. I'm gonna click Dark Tower, and I'll click the Dark Tower series, and then it'll show me, if I scroll down, the books in this series, and they are actually listed in order. So okay, last time I stopped at the Wastelands, so next I've got to read Wizard and Glass. But I keep forgetting what's next in the list. How do I give myself a reminder? How do I help myself remember what I've chosen that sounds cool? Because that's one of the great quote unquote problems of this. Not really a problem. It's a great problem to have, is that there's so many different book ideas you can get. How do you keep track of it? So there's multiple solutions for that up in the upper right hand corner that are actually very useful. There's so let's say I don't want to forget this title. If I click send to, I can email this to myself, or if I have my OneDrive or Google Drive open, I could save the information about that book to either one of those cloud-based drives. I can download it, and if I download this title, it'll download it as a PDF that I can then open later. I can print this page, so if I print it, let's see if it'll give me the print preview. It might not, yeah. But if it gave me the print preview, it would print this page. And then I can also say get link, and get link gives me a static web link that I can use to get back to this later. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll open one Word document, and as I find titles, I'll maybe put the links in there, and then I've got that whole list of links later to go back to, and then I can click on ideas and go, oh yeah, that was one I liked. It helps me get everything in one place, so I don't have different notes in disparate locations and I can't remember where everything is. So those are some methods for when you find a title. That's a great way to get some ideas for that title. And then one other thing that's very useful here in Gale Books and Authors, and we kind of touched on it a little bit, are the book lists. So the book lists allow you to see all kinds of different information about books that have won awards. So for instance, here you'll see the first subset of book lists here is award winners. So I had mentioned earlier that Colson Whitehead just won the Pulitzer Prize in fiction for the Nickel Boys. So if I want to see, that's actually, that list hasn't been updated yet because that was for 2020. But if I wanted to click on this and see what else has won the Pulitzer, I can do that, and then you'll see it's got everything listed. And if I want some more information, so I want to read more about The Goldfinch, the movie just came out recently. That's a perennial book club favorite. I can click on that right from there, and it'll get me that information. So under book lists as well, let me go back there really quick. They have what are called expert picks, and these are just lists that the genre and subject experts that curate this database have put together, but they're a great way if you're looking for something to read and you just can't get an idea. For instance, Alice in Wonderland read-alikes, that's probably something I would click on. Alice is one of my favorite books, And I'm just thinking to myself, what else could I read? Ah, the Phantom Toll Booth. Okay, I like that one too. Here's some other ideas for books you might enjoy. So this is a great way to get some good perspective on the next type of book you might want to try out, potentials to keep in mind for the future. I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities here. So take a whirl around Gale Books and Authors. Check it out and keep in mind, remember, there's fiction and nonfiction here. So whatever your taste, I know we have a lot of nonfiction readers at the Mount Airy branch. So whatever might be your taste, give it a shot and hopefully you can find something good. Okay, so let's dig into NoveList. Again, NoveList is available as part of the online research databases from CCPL. It's in the Books and Readers Advisory category, and it's right down here, so we'll just click NoveList. Now, NoveList is a little different from Books and Authors, is that when you first log in, you're going to need to enter your library credentials. So you'll enter your library username if you've set one up to use your account online before, or your library barcode number. So that would be all the numbers on the back of your library card, excluding the spaces, and then your password, and then you'll go ahead and click login. And that's just to verify that you are a library patron. So I've already done that in another screen, so let's go ahead and pull up NoveList. So once you log in, this is what you'll see. Just like with Books and Authors, NoveList enables you to get recommendations for both fiction and nonfiction. And you'll see here on the left, they also have a left sidebar that's meant for doing some browsing and everything like that. So that's a really nice feature. And then there's a crawl here on this screen. One thing I like is you're initially prompted, I'm in the mood for books that are. So that's why that brainstorming activity we have at the beginning, thinking about the books you like, what you like to read, it helps get your brain juices flowing for ideas that when you open a database like this, you're like, oh yeah, you know what? I want to read about, I'm in the mood for books that are upbeat and likable. And okay, like this is kind of a cute cover. I think I'll check that out. A nice thing NoveList does is when you hover over the picture, you can see some brief description details, and then if you're interested, you can click to go to that book and find out more information. So we'll take a look at that in just a minute. But again, here on this main page, there's always some different lists of ideas, featured award winners, featured audiobooks. So these are really nice ways to get some ideas right off the bat. But again, here's the recommended reads list here on the left-hand side. So in Books and Authors, that's genres. Here it's recommended reads list, but you'll see that they have different themes. So it's quite similar. I'm going to go to under fiction for fans of and see what this recommended read list does. And when I click that, it'll give me all different kinds of lists that we've got here. So I'm going to say, for fans of Game of Thrones, some of us are still getting over the fact that that series ended. So we'll go ahead and click on for fans of Game of Thrones, and it'll give us some recommended reads in this list. So one of the nice things is that you'll get the list here, and it'll give a description of what kind of books they put in this list. And if you are interested in keeping this list for later, here's a permanent link to that list, a static link, so you can copy that and paste it somewhere to keep it. But here are some of the books. So let's say I want to try out The Bear and the Nightingale. That's a very popular book with people particularly who are interested in Game of Thrones. I'm going to go ahead and check out this book and take a look at it, and go to The Bear and the Nightingale, and let's take a look at what some of the book details look like. So you'll see it's a little different looking than Books and Authors, but it actually has a lot of information as well. So you've got the author. If the book is part of a series, as this is the Winternight trilogy, you'll see that as well, and you can click and they'll show you all the books in that series. It'll have a description the genre, the storyline. So this actually dives a little bit deeper in depth if you're looking for specifics. So for instance, if you're picking out a book club book and you really want something that has, as you'll see here, a strong female character, this might help you decide what you're looking for. There's multiple professional reviews listed here. If there's audiobooks, you can get information about the audiobooks there. More about this book will give you even more drill down history on the genre, the themes. You can click, and clicking any of these links will take you to other books who've been tagged the same way. So you'll get a whole bunch of things. So it's what we call chasing citation trails in the library world, but one book can lead you to so many others. So it's pretty cool. And then lists and articles will give you information on any other lists that this book is included in this database, as well as awards. So here you see it's won Library Reads Favorites in 2017, Book List Editor's Choice, Adult Fiction for Young Adults 2017. So you get all kinds of ideas. And this little ribbon up here usually indicates that under lists and articles, you're going to find some awards that this book has has won. Pardon me. So, and as you'll see when you hover over it, it says award winners, see lists and articles. So that's a great way to find out some more information. There's always read-alikes for the titles in the right-hand side. So if you like this book, sometimes that's a good place to start too. Start with a book you've liked and then see what some of the other read-alongs are. That's another way to get some great ideas. If you want to keep searching for more books, they give you all different kinds of characters to search for. So just from this one book, there's all kinds of information that opens up to me. So that's why I really like NoveList. It's very deep. You can get very specific in what you want to look at. And it's really cool. So let's say I want to learn more. Oh, this is part of a series. That's right. I did read this one. But, what's the name of the second book in this series? So I will click the Winter Night Trilogy. Of course, meaning there's 3 books in this series. And after I click the Winter Night Trilogy, it will show me the books in these series in order and their publication dates. So I'll be able to see if they've come out yet. Again, more about this series. So if I click more about this series, it'll give more of a description and some of the genres and themes. Now, those are going to be similar to the individual books, but it is about that series. Here's read-alikes for the series. See, so this says, the Grisha Trilogy, Bohemian Gospel, Epona Sequence. So that will give us other series suggestions as well. So that's a really nice way to perhaps see where you are in a series, what to read next, but then also what other series are similar. So we'll go back home really quick. And we'll take a look at also how those recommended reading lists work for nonfiction. So nonfiction, here's must-read nonfiction. And let's see, here's book club best bets for nonfiction fans. That's a great idea. We have a lot of people who either do community book clubs or participate in our library-based book clubs. So if your librarian ever who moderates your book club ever asks for ideas, here might be a way to come get some ideas that you can throw out there and say, hey, what about XYZ? If you guys are looking and trying to muse as a group for ideas that you can read go forward. But anyway, so here's book club best bets for nonfiction fans, and it gives us some titles of ideas. Killers of the Flower Moon, that's a popular one recently that's been used for book clubs. The Feather's Thief. So again, just like with the titles for a fiction, the information, for a fiction title, you can click on that book, and then again, you'll get the summary, you'll get appeal terms, you'll get the genre, what the writing style is like, professional reviews, and again, this one is another award winner of some kind. So if we click lists and articles, it's going to give us some information. So this one, ALA Notable Books for Nonfiction in 2019. And again, over here on the right are read-alikes. So that is a way to use those recommended reading lists on the left-hand side to find books that you are looking for. Up here at the top, there's browse by, so you can browse by genre, you can browse by appeal, browse by themes, award winners. So that'll let you look at some of those lists like we've talked about, and audiobooks. So let's take a quick tour around browsing by genre to look for a book that we'd like to read. So here's a drop down here with genre. There's all different kinds of genres you can pick. Romance, historical fiction. That was something we looked at in books and authors. So let's click historical fiction and see what we've got here. So you'll see under historical fiction, then they'll have different sections here. So here's forthcoming, family sagas, Victorian era, Second World War, mid-20th century. So there's all different kinds of lists and information that you can get from browsing by genre. Browsing by appeal is really kind of a cool thing. If you are sort of, you can make your own appeal mix, kind of like, it's sort of, what do you feel like reading today? And that's where having that brainstorming ahead of time really, really helps. So I can say, I'm looking for something where the storyline is, let's see, action-packed, and then I also want to have, in character, I want to have a culturally diverse perspective. And let me click and find titles. And NoveList will actually do a little bit of a search there, and then it'll give me some titles in the appeal that I feel like reading, and I can check out and click on some of these books and check out their details. So this is a great way to get some more ideas for what you just feel like reading right now. The Buried World. I've never heard of that, but I'll tell you honestly, that cover is really cool. I might want to check that out. So, and read that one. I keep saying check out. I apologize. I hope I'm not confusing anyone. This is just a database to get ideas. It's not checking out. But anyway, so here's The Buried World. This actually hasn't come out yet. It's coming out in June 2020, but it's already in here. So it'll give me an idea for a book I might want to put on hold. It is part of a series, Grave Kingdom. So maybe if I know that that's coming out, if I'm someone who likes to read in series, I might click there and learn more about this Grave Kingdom series and see what the information is for book 1. So here's book 1, The Killing Fog. So let me go ahead and click on there. And this will give me information about the book. If I don't want to forget it, and I mentioned this in books and authors too, sometimes there's so much information here, it can get a little overwhelming, but there are great tools available for how to keep your own list so you can keep yourself organized no matter if you write out list of ideas you want to read in the future, if you have a folder where you like to print out ideas and store them, however you like to contain your ideas and keep them all in one place, you can adjust that. You can adjust NoveList in that style to work with you. So for instance, here I can click print and I can print a copy of this page. I don't know if it'll show. So this will actually show me what it will print. It'll print the details on those first couple publisher reviews. I can click the little email icon here, and then I can have NoveList email this to myself. So that's a great way to get that information so I don't forget about this book or this series. And I can save it as a file, and saving it as a file will enable me to save it as a PDF. So, and then I can later on call up that PDF. If you want to get super fancy, and we won't dive too into this today, but you can sign in for your own NoveList account. And then once you've signed in, you can click this add to folder, and you can keep your own folder, digital folder of the books that you like. But that's kind of a step 2. So if you get really into NoveList and you want to know how to use that folder, I would be more than happy to show you. But right now we're just going to do a basic. But if you want to do a deep dive and learn more about how to use the folder at some future time, let me know. and I can certainly walk you through and show you that, but it's good to get a handle on NoveList first. So anyway, that was Browse by Appeal. So browse by themes. Again, there'll be different themes we can look at. So themes by genre: fantasy, science fiction, realistic fiction. So let's see what kind of themes we can find in mystery and suspense. So I will click that. And then here there's all kinds of different themes. Locked room mysteries, race against time, the butler did it, inspired by real events, animal solving mysteries. So let's click Sherlock pause and see what kind of books we've got here. And then we've got all different kinds of books that come up in mysteries that are solved by animals. And again, on the left-hand side here, similar to books and authors, I can narrow down my results. So if I'm finding and looking for something just for myself, I can go ahead and click Audience, Adult. So I'll click that checkbox. Select Update Results. It'll take just a second, but then it'll update my list with books appropriate for adults that feature animals that solve crime. And you'll see we have Rita Mae Brown and Lillian Jackson Braun, which honestly, that's not surprising. They're two of the biggest ones I think of when I think of animals that help solve mysteries, but that's how you can use those themes to your advantage. And then again, there's Browse by Award Winners. And so here's recent award winners right here, or popular awards. So earlier we were talking about the Pulitzer. Let's see if this one's been updated. Here's Pulitzer Prizes, and then Pulitzer Prize for Fiction. And so this one has been updated. So NoveList has been updated with the 2020, the Nickel Boys, which I talked about earlier in Books and Authors. That was the 2020 winner for the Pulitzer Prize in Fiction. But then here also are the finalists. So if I wanted to take a look at the other finalists for the 2020 Pulitzer in Fiction, I could click View Honor List and it will show me some other options. So, and oftentimes those are great books to use as discussion for book clubs. So on that note, I did want to show one more feature of NoveList that really makes it unique, and that is there's a lot of information here under quick links. You'll see there's author read-alikes, book display ideas, so librarians, we love that, books that have become movies, but one of the biggest resources are the book club resources. And so if you are doing a community book club or you're thinking about doing a book club, there are resources here. There are book discussion guides for a variety of books, so that's really cool. And then there's book club articles. So if you're looking for tips on how to lead a book discussion or some different, here, bite-sized book list, travel the world in fiction. If I click there, there are some suggestions for books that would be good for book group discussions. So especially if you are interested in book clubs, or you're looking for a book that even if you just read with one other person that is suggested as a good book to have talking topics through, these book club resources are really something that's pretty cool. So I would say definitely check it out. But there's a wealth of information here under quick links that you can explore later. Genre outlines, grab and go book lists, feature articles. There's so much stuff. And as you get acquainted with NoveList, if you have any questions about this or books and authors that I talked about earlier, please feel free to add the questions you might have as comments to this video. NoveList has a really nice how do I learn how to use NoveList. This is basically their help center. So if you get stuck, or you can always ask one of the librarians when we're able to see you again. Anyone at the service desk can help you. But this is just kind of a quick look at NoveList. Like I said, there's a lot in here. Take a look around. If you have questions, let us know. And hopefully this will help you find a great new read.